What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon Kindle and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below as usual. This video is entitled Netflix Dope Episode 3 Review. Oh, finally. Episode 3 is What About Chicago? West Side. Man, I was glad that popped up. I wasn't expecting that, but since I grew up on the west side of Chicago, let's get it. So now they talking about the drug trade and the violence in Chicago. One of the first things I'm glad they brought up was, how did they get all these guns in Chicago? Because people are bringing the guns in from Indiana. And the dude said, you know, one of the guys who was selling guns, got my young boy in Indiana. You know, so because Indiana has lax gun laws and nobody's caring, because guess what? Indiana is basically a lily white state. You can buy 1 million guns in Indiana. So 9 times out of 10, some white folks in Indiana buying a gang of guns and, hey man, it's okay, man. Second Amendment. And I'm gonna go sell these guns. And nobody asked the questions. Damn, Billy, you bought your 476 gun. This in the last 6 months. I mean, how many guns you need, bro? How many can you lose? I mean, geez. But so when they say, well, these guns keep getting on the street, yeah. The other thing, like I said about the other one, they want to make a black face to face a heroin dealer because they used the brother in Baltimore. We talking about crack in Chicago. I get it, but here's what bothers me. Chicago's a very big city, very segregated, and when they have these, they had in Baltimore the black dudes whose plug was in the suburbs, and the second episode, the cartels who went to places basically that you could consider Hispanic and white areas, predominantly probably white, and in America where they funneling the drugs from Mexico to America through America. It's probably predominantly white cities, or maybe half and half, right? But you don't hear about big arrests in these cities. And the same thing in Chicago. What about the crime in Chicago? The funny part about the crime in Chicago is, what they didn't say in episode 2, you know, even they brought up the cartels. The cartels in Mexico have a hub in Chicago. So, I mean, you think the shooting just because black people just flipping out? No. They had to get the drugs from somewhere, right? They had to get the cocaine from somewhere, right? Who they get it from? And once again, a documentary falls short on saying who, you know, as the cops go, we're going to go up the food chain and up the food chain and up the food chain. You're only going up the food chain if it's black people in the food chain. The minute you hit somebody non-black, you quit the food chain. That's what y'all always have done. We're going up the food chain. Up. It's getting a little, Gonna stay in the hood, buddy. The plug over there in the Italian neighborhood. Nope, that's not the food chain. What about the Hispanic neighborhood? Nope, that's not the food chain. What about that Polish neighborhood? Nope, not the food chain. What about the Irish one? Nope, not the Irish one. What about the Asian one? Nope. Okay. So the drugs is only in one community. There's only one people dealing it, and they just and it's just coming up out of thin air. Okay, I hear you. Now, I'm going to get on y'all cats in these streets, though. I'm representing the gangster disciples. Usually you throw up the gang sign. You don't throw down the gang sign unless you're in a rival gang and you hate them dudes. But yeah, I peeped that. You know, then we go to the how much these guys are making. They selling 8 balls. First of all, some of y'all too damn old to be in the streets in the first place selling 8 balls. Fuck y'all doing with y'all lives. And it's the poverty, it's the poverty, it's the poverty. Once again, drug dealer life is a bunch of guys with bad built bodies who are really lazy and didn't want to do nothing else. And that's the one other thing that I have to talk about that I was peeping. It's a lot of overweight people and bad built underweight people. And everybody wants to cry about what's going on in the streets. But everybody in some way, shape, form, or fashion is harboring or participating in the streets. So shut the hell up. Even, you know, with these guys that talk about they got guns. If it's actually about the money, you will actually be making deals. But it's not about the money. People don't want to say that it's not about the money, but it's not about the money. It's just about being wild and reckless. Because one of the most telling scenes was they had these guys selling crack, right? They bagging up crack. About how much, thinking about how much money they're gonna make, right? But they got a table full of syrup. Fucker, you just spent, I don't know how much crack you gonna have to deal to pay for all that damn syrup you had on that table. You ain't gonna never get ahead. So, because once again, there was a whole nother aspect of all these drug dealers who had drug habits. And it's like, what are y'all doing, man? Like, is it, you know, the first rule, never get high off your own supply. I mean, and never, you can't be a drug dealer and a drug addict. Jeez. You know, and the police don't make it no better because, just like they say, the West Side violent. Yep. But y'all won't arrest anybody outside of the hood, which increases the violence. Because why are all these other neighborhoods that aren't black not as violent? Because they can actually operate in anonymity. Because the police ain't on every block busting their head. So so people can be relaxed and make money everywhere because they're just dealing drugs and being plugs all willy-nilly. And hey, you know, hi, what are you doing? Oh, we're just chilling, officer, nothing. Have a good day. No problem, officer. You know, it's like, come on, man. Now, for you young boys out there, I'm glad there was one guy who was like, you know, he came from a good family. He just was addicted to the streets. I hope you get shot. Use embarrassment to your family. Yeah, I said it. See, some of y'all, I always hated that. The cats that really had no business in the streets because they came from a good family who took care of everything. They just wanted to be in the hood so bad. They just threw away their whole life. And I'm going to tell you, like when people have a profile of people, you can see it in that episode. It's really not the dreads and that. A lot of times you can profile people by their body type and their skin and their eyes. You know, because like when the guys was bagging up drugs and all that, it's like y'all got this stuff all in y'all nails, all in your pores. You're an addict by default and shit. You know, and then the one guy got smart. One of the guys was smart, I must admit. He got them bullets, and he was like, he put the, he had the gloves on, so he don't get no fingerprints on him. But here was the thing, but in that episode, they showed how stupid a lot of these drug dealers have become. Even in Memorial Day weekend, you serving out the house. You walking around with an 8-ball on you. Like, what they do that at? They don't, that's not, no. You don't deal out of your house. You don't walk around with the whole thing on you. Like, what do they do that? Like, the fuck? But I get it. It's a documentary, and you're trying to, make it look as real as possible, right? And then the other guys, the one thing I didn't get was when the guy got arrested, and they said they got him with pills, but then he swallowed pills, but they let him go because they didn't have anything on him. Like, what? How you find pills on him and still let him go? Like, well, whatever, man. But the other thing, and I've said this for years, especially for you cats in the hood who want to be in the streets, I don't know why. Like, what is the deal with always smoking weed in cars? What is the deal when you seeing cops getting fidgety and just hurried up and getting out their way? If you riding like everybody else, you don't stand out. And the cops pointed that out. The minute they saw us, they got over 2 lanes. So obviously, they made themselves available to be searched. And it's like, a lot of y'all was not built for the streets. Y'all really weren't. And I wasn't in the streets. Like, so, but I could tell y'all wasn't built for the streets. Cats out there, gun after gun after gun, 113 pounds soaking wet, or these guys, too young to look that old and flabby, looking flabby and sick, but I got these guns. Hey, so what? So what? You got a 9. So what? You got a shotgun. So what? You so out of shape, and I loved it because the bad part about it is when I was watching the police is just as out of shape as the drug dealers. So at least there's no real chases going on. Like, the police sitting there just as obese and bad built as the criminals. It's like, I thought somebody had to be, smarter, stronger, and faster than the other person. Y'all just, the game is just gone. Like, everybody just is the laziest of everything ever. We got lazy dealers, we got lazy cops, we just got laziness. And, it ain't what it, Jesus. The other thing, when everybody knew what was going down Memorial Weekend, right? Here's the problem. Especially with all these shootings and all these killings. But even though they say 50-something people got shot, but 6 died. So it really wasn't all these killings compared to how many shootings happened. But as I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, because I know some of those areas. I used to be around some of those areas. Like, real talk. Like, but I left like 20 years ago. At the end of the day, even the cops wasn't destroying those drugs. And I don't, like, some of y'all don't know this, but sometimes those guns got back on the streets from cops selling them. Sometimes those drugs got back on the streets from cops selling them. You know, sometimes the city council members and the cops, you know, were actual, you know, the evidence room was their plug to be in the streets. So, you know, for the cops not destroying all this shit, that's a problem. Because even when he walked in there and he had the boxes of guns, guess what? When they put them shits in the box, hardly don't nobody look at them shits no more. You know, 30% of the boxes could be empty as shit. Y'all wouldn't know. Y'all wouldn't know. Because y'all ain't looking. Instead of just destroying this shit, you know, go on having them melted down to make a new gun, y'all just sitting them there in boxes, and you sitting the weed and the coconut. We got $1 million in there. I'm sure a couple of your officers know that too. And one of them kilos gonna come up missing. Y'all didn't. Them bitches ain't numbered. It ain't got like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing. It's just coke in a bag. Fuck it. Evidence. I'm out in these streets. This is what I mean by, you know, in some ways it just makes the incompetence look epic, because you gotta ask yourself, with all of this, if these drug dealers are this stupid and these police officers are this stupid, and you got all these people in the middle just buying drugs, this shit ain't gonna never stop, because nobody's really trying to stop it. Because you can stop the crack part. That's easy. You can stop the shooting part. That's easy. I know y'all were like, what? Yeah, it's easy. But ultimately, the hood is just cover for the suburb dealers. Because if you stop the hood shootings and dealers, then it kind of puts the struggle. Well, we didn't ended that problem. Now we got to go clean up these suburbs. That's not what they want. But, you know, for all y'all cats in these gangs doing this dumb shit, what the fuck y'all get anyways? I'm out.